Have you ever really truly stopped to wonder what you're made of? No, I don't just mean flesh and bone. I mean, what are the absolute rock bottom fundamental building blocks? Today, we're going to dump out life's Lego box and see exactly how you and every other living thing are put together.
So let's actually do that. Imagine you could zoom in on yourself. I mean, way, way in, past your skin, past your cells, past everything you recognize. What would you even see? What are the basic parts that make you, well, you? It turns out the answer is actually pretty simple, and it's the foundation for all the incredible complexity we see in the living world. Deep down, you'd find just a handful of these molecular building blocks. And at the heart of every single one of them is this absolute superstar of an element, carbon. So what's so special about carbon? It's like the ultimate connector. It can form these really strong, stable bonds with up to 4 other atoms at once, which lets it build the huge, complex skeletons that all of life depends on. Okay, so it's time to meet the crew. These molecular building blocks basically come in 4 main families. Think of them as the 4 essential teams on the construction site of you. First up, you've got the proteins. These are the workers, the tiny machines, the construction crews inside your cells. They're what we call polymers, which is just a fancy way of saying they're long chains made of smaller repeating units. In this case, those units are amino acids. By linking these amino acids together in different orders, your body creates all sorts of proteins that do basically everything, from digesting your lunch to literally forming your hair and muscles. Next, we have carbohydrates. Now, if proteins are the workers, carbs are the high-octane fuel that powers the whole operation. They're also polymers, but this time the building blocks are simple sugars, like glucose. Your body can either burn them for a quick burst of energy, or it can link them together and store them for later, like the starch in a potato. They can even be used for building materials, like the super tough cellulose that makes up plant stems. And then you've got the project managers, nucleic acids. You've definitely heard of these two, DNA and RNA. Their whole job is to be the master blueprint. They're also polymers made from little units called nucleotides, and they hold all the instructions for building an organism. This blueprint dictates the entire flow of information that runs the cell, following that famous rule, DNA makes RNA and RNA makes protein. And finally, we have the lipids. Now, these guys are kind of the odd ones out. Unlike the other 3, they're not these long, repeating polymer chains. Instead, they're smaller molecules, and their one defining feature is that they absolutely hate water. And believe it or not, that one simple property is one of the most important things in all of biology. Because they avoid water, they naturally clump together and form barriers, creating the perfect little containers for our cells. We call it the cell membrane. Oh, and they're also amazing for packing away energy for the long term. So, let's just do a super quick recap of our 4 master molecules. You have proteins, the workers, carbohydrates, the fuel, nucleic acids, the blueprints, and lipids, the containers. That's it. That's the core team. Pretty much everything happening inside of you right now is just these 4 groups mixing, matching, and interacting in a million different ways. But here's the thing. These 4 building blocks aren't just rattling around in some empty box. Nope. They're all floating around in this bustling, crowded chemical soup. And the liquid that makes all of this chemistry possible, it's the single most important molecule for life on our planet. Water. So why water? Well, it all comes down to its shape. See how the oxygen end is a little bit negative and the hydrogen ends are a little bit positive? That's called polarity, and it basically makes every water molecule act like a tiny weak magnet. And this one simple fact forces all those other big molecules we just met to twist and fold and organize themselves in very, very specific ways. So you see, water isn't just the background scenery, it's the director of the entire show. And this polarity creates this really fundamental split in the chemical world. On one side, you have water-loving or hydrophilic molecules that are totally happy to dissolve and mix with water. And on the other, you have water-fearing or hydrophobic molecules that do everything they can to get away from it. And this brings us back to lipids. It's their hydrophobic nature that drives them to bunch together and spontaneously form those cell membranes. It's not magic, it's just physics, all driven by the behavior of water. Okay, so we've got the Lego bricks, and we've got the watery playroom they all live in. But what actually holds them together? What stops the complex protein from just unraveling? Or what keeps the 2 strands of your DNA zipped up? For that, we need to talk about the invisible forces that act as the glue of life. Now, this glue isn't like super glue. It's not permanent. It's much more like Velcro. It's made of what we call non-covalent bonds. These are attractions that, one-on-one, are incredibly weak. But when you get thousands of them working together, they become really strong. And here's the brilliant part. Their weakness is actually their greatest strength. Because they can break and reform so easily, it allows molecules to be dynamic, to change their shape, to grab onto another molecule, and then to let go. That flexibility is absolutely essential for life.
Let's just quickly look at the three main types. First, you have your basic charge-charge interactions. It's literally just positive parts being attracted to negative parts, like you see in that salt bridge example that helps hold a protein's shape. Then you have hydrogen bonds, which are probably the most famous. As the chart shows, these are the little connections that zip the two strands of the DNA double helix together. And finally, you have these things called van der Waals forces. These are super subtle, fleeting attractions that only really matter when molecules get packed in really, really close to each other, like deep in the core of a protein.
So we have the parts, we have the watery environment, and we have the glue that holds it all together. There's just one piece of the puzzle missing: power. I mean, it takes a huge amount of energy to build and maintain the mind-boggling order of a living cell. So where on earth does that energy come from? Well, life's entire energy economy is this constant cycle of breaking and building. On one side, you have catabolism. That's the breaking down part. Your body takes fuel, like a carbohydrate, and smashes it to bits to release the energy locked inside. On the other side, you have anabolism. That's the building up part. Your body takes that energy and uses it to construct all the complex molecules it needs. It's this beautiful, continuous cycle, demolition to power new construction. Okay, let's zoom all the way back out for a second. We've seen the four key molecules, the water they swim in, the weak forces that shape them, and the energy that powers them. So what does this all mean when we look at the big, beautiful picture of life on Earth? Well, it all leads to this one absolutely mind-blowing conclusion. At the most fundamental, molecular level, there is almost no difference between you, a giant redwood tree, and a microscopic bacterium. We are all built from the exact same four types of Lego bricks. We all read from a DNA blueprint. We all run on chemistry that happens in water. We are all, when you get right down to it, basically the same. Which leaves us with one last fascinating question to chew on. If every living thing is built from the exact same tiny toolkit and follows the same fundamental instruction manual, how in the world do we get the breathtaking, incredible diversity of life we see all around us? From a blue whale to a mushroom. The answer, of course, is in the nearly infinite number of combinations, the endless ways those few simple bricks can be clicked together.